Начинаем. Добрый день, уважаемые участники 4-й международной онлайн-сессии Баренцев Евроарктический регион против коронавируса. Сегодня 30 сентября 2021 года. Это наша не первая встреча, уже 4-й раз мы с вами встречаемся. Встречаемся не только для того, чтобы узнать, какова ситуация в наших странах, но и, естественно, обменяться опытом и подумать о том, как мы будем строить нашу дальнейшую жизнь после того, как наступит эпоха после коронавируса. Ну что ж, уважаемые участники, в принципе, все на месте, все, кто заявлен в сегодняшней нашей сессии. Прежде чем мы предоставим слово для приветственных слов, небольшая техническая информация. Напомню вам о том, что у нас сессия идет на 2 языках, на русском и на английском, поэтому русские участники, пожалуйста, выберите русский канал. Естественно, наши зарубежные партнеры выбирают англоговорящий канал для того, чтобы наши замечательные переводчики смогли обеспечить возможность слушать и слышать и понимать нас друг друга. И слово для приветствия предоставляется губернатору Мурманской области Андрею Владимировичу Чибису. Андрей Владимирович, пожалуйста, вам слово.
Ой, простите, пожалуйста. А сейчас слышно? Товарищи переводчики.
Да, Андрей Владимирович, сейчас мы вас слышим. Пожалуйста. Итак, Андрей Владимирович Чибис, губернатор Мурманской области, с приветственным словом к участникам нашей онлайн-сессии. Пожалуйста, Андрей Владимирович.
Да, прошу прощения. Тогда еще раз. Всех рад приветствовать на этом мероприятии. Мероприятие, безусловно, важное. Мы ориентируемся при принятии решений в нашем регионе, при трансляции нашего опыта в целом на Российскую Федерацию, когда мы обсуждаем на штабах по борьбе с коронавирусом, проводимых под руководством вице-премьера Татьяны Алексеевны Голиковой, на тот опыт, в том числе, который есть у наших соседей. У нас особый с вами климат, очень разная территория с точки зрения населенности и количества людей, проживающих в населенных пунктах. И поэтому, конечно, для нас принципиально важен опыт, слышать друг друга для того, чтобы принимать адекватные меры по противодействию коронавирусной инфекции и, конечно, по поддержке наших жителей и наших предпринимателей для того, чтобы жизнь...
So that the life should go on even in the conditions of the pandemic. Thanks again for coming together to discuss this very urgent, unfortunately for a second year already, subject. And we are moving how we're tackling this problem. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Andrei Vladimirovich. And we continue our session, and we would like to grant the floor for welcoming remarks to Chair of CSO, BEAC, Norwegian Foreign Ministry, Gøril Johansen. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Moderator Yerofeyev. And thank you very much, Governor Chibis, for invited. And dear friends of the Barents region. It's a great pleasure for me to take part in this Barents Euro-Arctic region against the coronavirus sessions. It would be great to be in Murmansk and meet you all in person. But I'm happy to meet you on this digital format. We think that informal discussions that take place in events like this are important added value to the more formal meetings under the Barents structures. On 28th of September, state secretaries of the Barents countries met to discuss the Barents Region Health Cooperation after COVID-19. So we have learned a lot from this difficult period, and we have made experiences that will serve as important learning when we move forward, like the governor said. For example, we have learned that e-health and good digital solutions are very important. So since Norway took over the chairmanship in the Euro-Arctic Council, we have done our very best to strengthen the Barents cooperation. And our priorities have been health, people to people, and knowledge. And we also have strengthened the Barents Euro-Arctic Council through administrative reform, and we hope to adopt a Barents financial mechanism in the ministerial meeting the 26th of October. So the pandemic has resulted in closed borders, halted our projects, and so many things have been put on hold. But in a cooperation that is built on the contact between people, this is very demanding times. And we have learned from several discussions that people have been suffering, maybe especially the young. So I thank the governor of Murmansk for initiating this important discussion. And then we really hope to see the governor in Tromsø the 26th of October, and we look forward to the ministerial meeting of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council in Tromsø. This will be a physical meeting, and this means that after all the difficult times are soon over. Thank you, and I wish you a good seminar.
Спасибо большое, Гюрил.
Thank you very much, Güril. We also thank you for the wishes for the participants of this seminar. We do hope that we will have a productive and interesting discussion. And now I would like to give the floor to Governor of Swedish County of Västerbotten, Helena Knutsson. Helena, the floor is yours.
I would like to thank the host Murmansk and Governor Chibis for the initiative to have this meeting on the Barents Euro-Arctic region versus coronavirus. Unfortunately, I cannot participate on today's session, but would like to send some words with you today. My name is Helene Hellmark Knutsson, and I'm the Governor of Västerbotten and the Chair of the Regional Council. When Västerbotten started to draft our Barents Regional Council Chairmanship Program almost 2 years ago, no one could foresee the development that we are facing today. Almost the entire chairmanships for Västerbotten and for Norway have run entirely digital because of the COVID-19 situation. Even though it has been challenging at times, I find it comforting that the Barents cooperation are built on a stable ground and that we all have been in this situation together. The Barents cooperation distinguishes itself as one of the most successful examples of regional cooperation in our part of the world. We have continued to build on the contacts that people in the region have had for hundreds of years, creating a network in which people and organizations cooperate. Not even a pandemic could affect this fruitful cooperation. Now we have several available vaccines and are finally starting to see a way back to a new normal. With these words, I hope you have a meaningful meeting, and I hope to see many of you in person in Tromsø at the end of October. Thank you.
Спасибо большое, Хелена.
Thank you, Helen. I think the wish of the physical meetings is mutual. We all are looking forward for physical meetings, and it's great to see each other at least online. And now, after the welcoming remarks, we get down to the discussion, and the floor is granted to the governor of Murmansk region, Andrei Chibis.
Once again, thank you very much. I will speak about the current situation in the region, and I will be very happy to hear what's happening in my colleagues' regions. The situation now is stable but challenging. And why is it's challenging? Because we see growth in incident rates in other Russian regions, and also in Russia's megapolises such as Moscow and St. Petersburg. And we know from experience that once we see more cases in large cities, in megapolises, and we have quite a lot of connections, we have people moving back and forth on business trips or on vacations, and so they bring the disease to here. But what we see so far has not resulted in any significant growth, even though the number of cases is growing in large cities of Russia. Secondly, compared to the strains that we discussed several months ago, we see that the virus has become more severe, and the number of symptomless people is smaller, and there's no more than 10% the people who have got coronavirus, they do need medical assistance. And thirdly, and the virus and the mixing of the strains that we see in our area, and we see that more young people being affected, although during the first stages we didn't see the young people being affected. They had their immune system worked well, and we see that vaccination is working efficiently. We have vaccinated 252,000 people, and we see that if someone who is vaccinated gets sick, usually they have a disease in a light form, and those people who end up in hospitals now and who require hospital treatment, these are usually people who have not been vaccinated. And in that sense, we do have certain challenge because we're not forcing anyone to get vaccinated. And we do have quite a large number of people who don't want to get vaccinated, even though several vaccines are available freely. You can sign up digitally, you can pick the time that is convenient to you. It doesn't have to be at a hospital. We have established special large vaccination points, and so the majority of people, they do go for a vaccination, but unfortunately we still have people who are absolutely against vaccination. And unfortunately, these people end up in hospitals in severe conditions. And we continue working on delivering free medicines against the coronavirus, and also free medicines against colds, respiratory diseases, because we know that respiratory diseases can eventually be identified as coronavirus infections. We have established the vaccination system. We have an established testing system. 80% of people get the results of the testing within 12, 13 hours from taking the coronavirus test by a text message. So that means that if people are positive, they can isolate themselves quickly, and then we can respond to this situation. We can send a medical team to assess the situation, whether a person can stay at home or needs to be hospitalized. With regards to the restrictions that we have, we basically lifted almost all restrictions, and we did that several months ago. So basically our economy is working without restrictions, and we didn't stop operations of any large enterprises, but during the first wave in early 2020, we did restrict activities of small and medium-sized businesses that have a lot of people traffic. We now have minimum requirements, and they've been there for almost a year. Of course, we have a strict requirement for mask wearing indoors and on public transportation, and we do not require to wear masks outside. And the majority of people of the Murmansk region are quite responsible, and they do wear masks inside and on public transport. We do have limitations for bars and restaurants, so they are only open until 11 o'clock in the evening, so that we can avoid accumulations of large numbers of people at night. So they're only open until 11 o'clock. And we also have restrictions on concerts, so they can only work at their 50% capacity. And we conduct large gatherings outside, like big concerts, but every time it depends on the situation in a particular municipality. We take decisions at the group that is responsible for responding to coronavirus, and I'm head of that group. And so we make individual decisions on each case, but by and large, we don't have any major restrictions to the economy and life of the people in the region. And as for education, so unless there is a breakout at a particular class or at a particular school, we have children and students have been going to school from the 1st of September in person. And they move to online courses if there is an outbreak in. And unlike last autumn, when we didn't have any flu in the Murmansk region, now we already see a flu emerging, and there is a worsening of the situation because we have a mix of both coronavirus and flu. And we are now actively vaccinating also against flu, not just against coronavirus. So that's the current situation. We are monitoring the situation very attentively. And since we have already learned to live with the coronavirus, we do expect that we will not have to introduce new restrictions on public events or restrictions in general on people's lives and on the economic activities. So we will stick with the restrictions that we have now, but if the situation changes drastically, we do have the tools available to introduce restrictions. But it's important that our healthcare system has learned to both fight the coronavirus and provide planned assistance. So even though we have a large number of medical personnel involved in COVID activities, we still provide regular medical assistance to people. So in summary, we have learned to respond to the crisis. Our healthcare system is dealing with the situation, but with the vaccination efficiency that we see, the situation is stable, even though that there are certain risks, there is certain tension, but by and large, we now live with the coronavirus, we organize large events. In August, we had a large international forum in Tiribirka as part of our Arctic Council chairmanship program. So we're basically back to normal, peaceful life, also in terms of public events. And I have also know that I also see that our colleagues are also conducting in-person events or hybrid events. So I do hope that in the coming future we'll be meeting more in person rather than over video conferencing, so that we can discuss everything face to face rather than screen to screen. So that's the situation. As of now, we continue to develop our economy. We continue the programs with investment attraction, with subsidized tax rates. We have launched a program called Arctic Hectare, where we provide free land to, for the time being, it's only for the residents of the Murmansk region, but from the 1st of February, it will be available to all Russian nationals, so that people can start a business in the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation by obtaining a hectare of land for that purpose. So that's the current situation, and I'll be happy to hear what's happening at our good neighbors. Andrei Vladimirovich, thank you very much for such a detailed analysis of the situation in the Murmansk region. You said that we have learned to live with coronavirus, and you have also talked about getting back to peaceful life. And we do see a radical change of the situation versus what we had a year or 6 months ago. And we do hope, we all hope, that we will be back to a full-scale normal life in the very near future. But let us now find out what's happening at our Finnish friends. So we'll hear from Pentti Mallinen, the governor of Kainuu. Pentti, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you, Chair. I will let you know our situation following the concept note lines. And first of all, I have to say that we in Finland seem to be in the turning point, a positive turning point in the coronavirus, so that we are our national hybrid strategy is now phasing out. So it means that we are freeing these restrictions that have been used during these 2 years, so that we will open restaurants in normal times. We don't anymore restrict public meetings and events. The mask regulation is going to more free. This will happen, I think, in 1 or 2 months. Our COVID situation is very well known, and we have followed the incident figures according to the last 14 days. And in North Finland, it has been a little bit better situation than in Finland in average. But what is the most positive thing in whole Finland is we have not so much patients in hospitals at the moment. There is only 24 in primary hospitals, 77 in special care, and 25 in intensive care in whole Finland at the moment. That is a positive thing. There is still a virus going on and on because these variants and because it goes to the younger age groups. But the younger age groups are not going to hospitalized. Vaccination campaign, it is has been free in Finland, and we have a national target to get a rate over 80%, and in the Kainuu region we have reached the first vaccination is 14, but the second vaccination is still 65% at the moment, so that we have to make campaigns, because we also have some hesitations with some people, so that there's been a good phenomenon that some private firms and shops and others have made some campaigns giving free tickets for having hamburgers or some other gifts for those who take the first vaccination. The measures taken to support businesses, they have been last year, and they are national schemes in Finland. Still, tourism and creative businesses are still suffering, and they need some special support from state in the future. In Finland, we are going to have EU-related measures, resilience and recovery funds that are used now and in the future, but they are directed to vitalize the whole national and regional economy. In our region, it has been very radical change when we lost the flight connections from Helsinki to Kajaani, but now the flight connections last year and the flight connections to 5 regions, including Kainuu, they are still supported by state subsidy until August next year. So, but we are hoping, and we have seen that the flight passengers number have raised very positive way. Also, Kainuu has, as a first region, reached unemployment rate that was in the beginning of coronavirus, so that we have had, in general, positive economic development. And in Finland, I think we have not so much economic problems than in average in the world. We are now opening also the international contacts from Kainuu. We have made some project visits in Russia. We are going to see you in Tromsø, the meeting, and we hopefully can open the tourism and people-to-people contacts across the Russian-Finnish border. We have Kainuu has a border to Republic of Karelia. The challenge has been all the time that in the Republic of Karelia, the corona rate has been more severe than in Kainuu, and there are still twin citizens and transit traffic that has been crossed the border so far. But we also hope and get it available and alive. We have strong hopes in Kainuu and the Republic of Karelia that this future CBC Karelia program that is under preparation at the moment, but will be available in funds during 1 year that we get our cross-border cooperation on the track in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Спасибо большое, господин Pentti.
Thank you, Mr. Pentti Malinen, for this detailed account of what happens in Finland. And now we turn to the Norwegian county, Tromsø, Finnmark, with the deputy chair of the county council, Tari Jensen-Beck. The floor is yours. Please tell us what is your story.
Слышите? Все в порядке?
Dear Barents friends, first of all, I would like to thank Governor Andrej Cibits for following up the initiative to provide a forum to discuss COVID-19 among regions of the Barents cooperation. I am very glad that we have this platform for exchange of such information in the border area. I am pleased to inform you that Norway have declared full reopening of the Norwegian society this weekend, almost 600 days after the COVID-19 came to the country. Today, I represent the 2 northernmost counties in Norway, and I will give you a brief report on the status of the reported cases from Norland and from Troms and Finnmark. On the national level, the trend is generally decreasing. The number of reported cases the last 2 weeks are quite low, but we still have some confirmed cases of COVID in the second part of September, week 37 and 38. And on the national level, we have 9,904 number of COVID cases and 105 in hospital. In Troms and Finnmark, we have 422 number of COVID cases and related cases in hospital, 1. And in Norrland, it is 300 COVID cases and COVID cases related in hospital is 0. The latest statistics show that approximately 7% of the total Norwegian cases is to be found in the north, and we expect this amount to further decrease. The high vaccination coverage is inhibiting the spread of the epidemic. In Norway, 84% of the population have gotten 2 doses of the vaccine. 90% of people over 18 years old have gotten 1 dose. As well as most children over 12 years have now gotten 1 dose. Norway is moving from a controlled strategy to a preparedness strategy. After the reopening of the society, we do no longer need to keep 1 meter distance. The rule and recommendation for events, leisure activities, and social gathering are now lifted. Gradually, downscaling of the restriction on entering into Norway is planned. Entry restriction will be removed in 3 phases. Phase 1 has begun, and all EEA nationals, including people from other countries who reside in the EEA, may enter Norway. All foreign nationals who live in countries outside the EEA Schengen area, which the Norwegian Institute of Public Health has determined can have slightly lighter restriction, will also be allowed to enter Norway. Entry restriction will continue to apply for people coming from all other countries. However, there are several exemptions, as for example, foreign students associated a Norwegian educational institution, PhD students at Norwegian educational or research institution, foreign nationals who are visiting close family members in Norway, people belonging to certain profession, journalists, maritime and aeronautical personnel, freight and passenger traffic, diplomats and military personnel, Sami people engage in reindeer husbandry, researchers and crew on marine research cruises, foreign nationals invited by Norwegian authorities, and employees of international organizations. The Norwegian government is planning to gradually downscale the test center in 3 phases. In phase 1, test center will be kept at airport with international traffic as the Norwegian-Russian border crossing point at Storskog. Dear all, the pandemic has become a real boost for development of many new high technology solutions for communication across the border, both interregional and international. It's been helping us to maintain our cooperation and taking care of our relation. Norrland and Troms and Finnmark counties have successfully cooperated on programming EU's Interreg program, Colarctic Next and Interreg Aurora for 2021 to 2027 that are important funding tools for the Barents cooperation, North Colot cooperation and regional development in the High North. I am a strong supporter of the Barents cooperation. Next meeting of the Barents Regional Council will be held in 25th of October in Tromsø, back to the Barents Ministerial, where we also can discuss a wider range of Barents issues. These meetings are going to be our first physical one since February 2020, and that are we looking forward to, and we are looking forward to seeing you all in Tromsø. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beck, for a detailed account of the situation. And we are congratulating you with reopening the country, and I hope that this preparedness strategy that you just mentioned will be successful. And of course, this forthcoming meeting that you mentioned will give a new impetus to our relations. Thank you very much. And now, from the Norwegian region of Troms and Finnmark, we move back to Finland, and this time it's going to be in North Karelia, and we give the floor to the regional mayor, Markus Hirvonen. Markus, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and dear colleagues and friends all over the world. Greetings from North Karelia, and thank you for inviting me in this session. It is very nice to meet you all. Now I would like to tell you shortly about pandemic situation in our region. North Karelia has survived well in sanitary sense. The situation in North Karelia is good now. There are very few or no new cases in corona. Vaccines have been the biggest factor for us. More than half of population has received 2 vaccines. Patients in hospital are all people who not taken the vaccine. As the situation has improved, restrictions have been removed. We allow children and adults to move around normally, and the restaurants are open. Some recommendations still exist. The mask is still used in public places, and teleworking is recommended. What is important now is return to normal life. If normal no longer exists, we don't know it yet. In order for us to succeed in this, the entire population must take the vaccine. We have a small number of people who refused the vaccine. Fortunately, it's a small amount. The rate of vaccination is good at the moment, and we have started vaccinated children. There is no longer shortage of vaccines. We are really happy that the situation is getting better. In North Karelia, the economy has turned to growth and unemployment has eased rapidly. Several companies report labor shortage. Growth is currently most constrained by a shortage of industrial components. So we are moving towards the future, and directing is very good. Events have also started, and we get to enjoy the culture in the fall. We have several concerts and other cultural events now. The last restrictions have now been removed, and people are allowed to assemble freely. We celebrate the 1300th anniversary of our province for the rest of the year. I look forward to meeting you in the spirit of international cooperation. There are still some restrictions on Finland's borders, and we are waiting for them to be lifted. After that, vaccinated people will be able to move freely across border again. Then we also have the opportunity to meet. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend the meeting in Tromsø for several reasons. Another representative will be from North Karelia. Thank you for all, and thank you for attention.
Спасибо большое, Маркус.
Thank you, Markus. For one thing, you mentioned 300 years anniversary of your county. We congratulate you on that. I think all of the participants of this session join, and we wish you another 300 years without any coronavirus that would not hamper your further developments. We feel that your situation is improving very rapidly, and we wish you further success and victories in future. We continue, and we grant the floor to the head of the International Barents Secretariat, Markus Karlsson. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you, Murmansk and Governor Chibis, for continuing the very important dialogue on the pandemic among the regions of the Barents Cooperation. I represent the International Barents Secretariat. Our main objective is to support the chairmanships of both national and regional level. I would also like to inform you that thanks to Finland and Norway, the International Barents Secretariat has been substantially strengthened this year with additional advisors. On the pandemic, from our point of view, we certainly take note that the digital competence has rapidly increased among all. And I'm also very happy to note that even though that we are physically not able to cross the borders, there is a strong need and a wish to continue the cooperation, which we see inter alia among the number of digital meetings that are taking place. And we are very happy to be able to facilitate those sorts of meetings by providing a digital platform for meeting where we can have 2 or more languages. We have received though feedback from different actors in the Barents Cooperation that they do miss physical meetings. Digital meetings are easy to organize. You avoid long travel, using a lot of time for traveling, but you miss out on the informal talks. And you miss out on the in-depth contact with people. And as Gøril said, this is something that the youth has conveyed to us, but also the indigenous peoples. We will continue to be ready to support you in your cooperation activities in the Barents region. As Gøril and Tarjei mentioned, we look very much forward to seeing you in Tromsø during the ministerial meeting on 25th and 26th of October. We, of course, look also very much forward to support the incoming Finnish national chairmanship and the regional chairmanship of Nenets. And by that, once again, let me thank you for keeping the dialogue alive. It is very important that we discuss the pandemic issue because there will be asymmetrical developments. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carlson. Thank you indeed for the support that you have been providing to the actors of Barents Cooperation. That is extremely important. And now I would like to give the floor to the Norwegian Barents Secretariat, Lars Georg Fordal. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. Dear Governor Chibis, dear friends and good neighbors, I'm glad to see you on the screen this time. As it has been mentioned, in Norway, we are quite lucky at the moment. Many COVID rules have been lifted, but now we very much wait for the easing of the borders. We wait for the more normal border crossing, and it is of course very understandable why we cannot travel as earlier, but while we plan for digital events, we also hope there will be a bit more eased bureaucratic procedures for crossing the borders for vaccinated people or with testing. But we also have some positive news. For example, this autumn in Murmansk, there is a common class of Norwegian and Russian students. They started to study some weeks ago, and there is about 10 Norwegian and Russian students this autumn. So this is very positive. They had to cancel last year, but this year it's going as planned. And next year, we are looking forward to celebrate the 10 years anniversary of the Border Citizen Travel ID. This unique travel document that we have in our border zone between Kirkenes, Nikel and Zapoljarny. This common borderland and this travel ID, I think we all should remember, it is quite unique for our region. And this is an example on how Norwegians and Russians together have managed to reduce paper procedures, to have a common look and to find easier solutions for bureaucratic demands. This is an example on how we earlier made our borders more practical for everyday life and for business. And 75% of those that live in Kirkenes has this borders and travel ID now. Until the pandemic, of course, they used to go frequently to shop to the Russian neighboring cities. And I think when we open up after the pandemic, we have to look a bit back and see how important it was to make it easier. And I think this will become very important, of course, after the corona, making the Arctic better for business, make it more interesting, to have more education, culture, and young people. This is, of course, in our common interest. And I'm glad to see that this also has been in the focus of the Norwegian chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council. And it's even better to see that this is now continuing on a bit different level, but still in the Arctic, during the Russian chairmanship of the Arctic Council. And for us in the Barents region, I think it's very important to remember and have in mind that we, in fact, the Barents region, it is actually the center of the Arctic. And it has been discussed about physical meetings. I'm glad to hear that many are going to Tromsø. And to follow up on that, I would be very glad to see you all in person, and I invite you all to the Kirkenes conference next year. It will take place in Kirkenes on 23rd and 24th of February 2022. So I hope you all might be able to attend in person. As I said, we hope to develop our common borderland also after the pandemic. And at the moment, we are working with the idea of the border shuttle that I have mentioned earlier. We have found several minibuses that might drive this distance between Kirkenes, Nikel and Zapoljarny, and perhaps with Finnish Netamme. And we are now in the process of making the arrangements with companies and counties of Murmansk, Troms and Finnmark and Finland to find practical solutions. And our ambition is now rather concrete. During the summer of 2022, our ambition is to launch electric border shuttle, at least in a test period for this summer. At the same time, we work to find a permanent solution for this. So at least we have something to work with while we wait for a more normal situation. With this, I look forward to meet you perhaps next time in person. But thank you very much for the initiative to this meeting, and all the best from Kirkenes. Thank you. Goodbye.
Спасибо большое, господин Форд.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Fordel, for the invitation to Kirkenes and for what you are doing to make the Arctic closer. I mean, the people who live here in the north of Europe, so that the border would not be there in our communication or in the culture or elsewhere. And I recall our meeting in March, and I may tell you that the general attitude is really positive now. We realize that even in the coronavirus situation, we have learned to survive, to live, and to tackle the problems that arise. And I would like to grant the floor for the closing remarks to the initiator of our session, Governor of Murmansk region, Andrei Chibis.
За все время
throughout the time that we have been discussing coronavirus in this format, this has been the most positive session of all of them, because before we were talking about closures, limit restrictions, additional financial support, but today we are reporting that we have already moved to peaceful life. Yes, there are certain restrictions in place. We still need to be vigilant, and it's too early to relax because the virus mutates and we have the mixing of the strains. But the main conclusion is that we are back to peaceful life, and that's great, and that's very positive, and I congratulate all of you with that. I do hope that we'll move on from online to in-person meetings, because digital technologies cannot replace face-to-face communication. So I would like to thank all of you for your reports, for this exchange of the information on what the status is. I would like to wish all participants good health, and I wish all the residents of our regions and of our countries good health, so that both the economies grow and people's incomes grow, and the number of sick people would reduce. So I would like to thank all of you and end this meeting on this positive note. Thank you very much.